You've seen it everywhere, right? Absolutely stunning, mind-bending art that looks like it was made by a master, but nope, it was generated by an algorithm in just a few seconds. It's beautiful, it's powerful, for sure. But what's really going on behind this new unseen canvas? What are the ethical tripwires just waiting for us in the code?
All right, let's get into it. For this explainer, our guide is a fascinating paper called Investigating Some Ethical Issues of Artificial Intelligence in Art. It's by Mohammad Ali Ashouri Kisomi and was published in the University of Isfahan's Metaphysics journal. It really gives us a fantastic framework for trying to get our heads around these incredibly complex questions.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at how AI even makes art to begin with. Then, we'll dive into 5 big ethical challenges the paper points out. We're talking privacy, manipulation, bias, and automation. And finally, we'll look at, where do we go from here?
Okay, first up, AI enters the studio. So how in the world does a machine learn to create something like art? Well, it's not magic, but it is built on some seriously powerful ideas.
It all starts with machine learning. Think of it like this. Instead of a programmer trying to write down all the rules for what makes a portrait, they just don't. They show the system thousands upon thousands of examples of portraits, and the AI itself figures out the patterns. It's learning from experience, not from a rulebook.
Now, the tech that really kicks this into high gear is something called Generative Adversarial Networks, or GANs. The paper uses this amazing analogy. You've got 2 AIs in a contest. One is the generator, which is like a brilliant art forger, creating fakes. The other is the discriminator, an expert art critic trying to spot them. They go back and forth, round after round, until the forger gets so good that the critic can't tell the difference. And that's how these systems create brand new, totally convincing art.
So now that we know how it works, let's get into our first big ethical mess. This is about privacy and digital style, or what happens when an algorithm can literally steal your creative signature.
This research lays out a really chilling scenario. An artist spends years, maybe their whole life, developing a unique style. They share their work online. Then someone takes all that work and feeds it to an AI. The AI learns every brushstroke, every color choice, and can now spit out infinite new pieces in that artist's style. Suddenly, the original artist's work could become worthless.
But it gets deeper, and honestly way more invasive. The paper talks about something called deep opacity. This goes way beyond just copying a style. Imagine an AI analyzing an artist's entire life's work. It might spot a pattern, say a recurring use of the color red, and by connecting that to other data points, it could uncover a subconscious link to a past trauma that the artist themselves wasn't even consciously aware of. It's drawing these intensely personal conclusions, all without consent.
And that invasion of privacy gets even scarier when the AI isn't just watching us, but is actively trying to change how we feel. Which brings us to our next point: manipulation and persuasion.
This sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but the paper gives a real-world example: the persuasion machine exhibit. This thing used biosensors and facial recognition to build a profile of you as you walked through the gallery, and then it actively tried to change your mood, to influence which paintings you liked and which you disliked, all without you having any idea what was happening. It's art that literally curates your feelings for you. This leads us right into a huge, fundamental problem with so many AI systems: opacity and algorithmic bias. The simple fact is, we often have no idea how they make their decisions. It's just a black box. And this whole black box problem creates some massive headaches, like this one. If an AI creates a masterpiece, who owns it? Who gets the copyright? Is it the programmer? The person who wrote the prompt? The owners of the millions of images it was trained on? Because the process is so opaque, it's almost impossible to say if the AI truly created something or if it just brilliantly copied it. And here's the kicker: that black box isn't neutral. It's not objective. It can be absolutely stuffed with biases that sneak in from all over the place. From prejudiced data, from the unconscious assumptions of the human designers, or even just from sloppy data collection. The paper gives a really stark example of this. You train an AI on centuries of Western art history, right? Well, that history is overwhelmingly dominated by images of white European men. So when you ask that AI to generate a portrait of a person, what do you think you're going to get? It's just going to reflect and even amplify the biases of the past. Which brings us to the big one, the question that's on the mind of pretty much every creative person right now: automation and the artist. Is this amazing new thing a tool, or is it a replacement? The paper lays out two really different ways of thinking about this. One argument from a researcher named Herdsman is that AI is just another tool, like a fancy paintbrush. He says real art needs human intention, something an AI doesn't have. But another view, from Mizone and El Gamal, says no, it's way more than a tool. It's a whole new medium for artists to explore. And that difference between tool and medium could change everything for creative work.
And look, if you think this is all just some philosophical debate, well, let's talk numbers. $432,500. That's how much an AI-generated artwork sold for at a Christie's auction back in 2018. The market is already deciding this stuff has value, and that is going to cause some major waves.
Okay, we have laid out some pretty big, pretty thorny challenges. So what do we do? According to the paper, what does the way forward look like for art's ethical future?
Here's what might be the most important takeaway of the whole thing. The paper argues that to fix the ethical problems of AI and art, we have to fix the ethical problems of AI, period. These aren't just little art world problems. They're just reflections of much bigger dilemmas about privacy, bias, and work that are going to affect all of us.
And that's exactly why there's no silver bullet here. The paper points out that any simple fix just won't work. A technical patch to protect artists can be obsolete tomorrow. If you demand total transparency from the AI, you might destroy someone's privacy. It's all interconnected, like a giant tangled web. So the paper's final conclusion is really a call to action. The solution isn't a what, it's a who. It has to come from collaboration. You need the AI developers who build this stuff, the philosophers and ethicists who understand the moral stakes, and of course, the artists who are actually living on the front lines of this new world, all in the same room, working together. And so we'll leave you with this final, really provocative question that sits right at the heart of the paper. If art has always been a mirror that reflects our society, our hopes, our dreams, our flaws, then what does this new AI art reflect about its creators? And maybe more importantly, what does it reflect about us?